Hey guys, welcome to BODHI Yoga Online. I'm Krista Cahill and I am going to have Chris demonstrate the asanas for me this morning. So please come into your yoga space. We are going to start just in a seated position. If you need some elevation or something underneath you, grab a blanket or a block or whatever you need. Comfortable cross position, doesn't have to be a lotus, but it can be if that's easy for you. Okay, so let's just take a few moments and close the eyes if you're in a space where you can just shut out the outside world for a few moments. Tune your vibration to what's happening in that inner space. When we do seated mindfulness practice like this, it is very useful to have an anchor. So you can choose something physical, such as your sitting bones or the weight of your legs hitting the earth. Or it could be something a little bit more subtle, like the breath. You decide, and come back to the anchor anytime you feel as though your awareness floats away from this present moment. So become totally aware of how the physical essence of you has shown up today. Perhaps you're aware of some areas where there's just a little less energy or a little excessive. Do your best to unclench any tension in the jaw, any tightness in the forehead muscles. Try to soften. Let the arms and shoulders hang and relax down against the rib cage. And we're going to take another few breaths like this. If you're choosing a specific type of breathing, go ahead and engage. Otherwise, just keeping the breath smooth. Now you're going to allow your eyes to open. And we're just going to start with some gentle neck exercises. So you're going to let one ear fall towards one shoulder. Take a few moments, cultivating the same awareness. Observe if there's an excessive or a deficient feeling of energy. And then you're going to go to the other side and just take a few moments. Let your body become aware of what's going on. And now you're just going to go side to side, so bringing the ear across, side to side, stretching out the muscles around the neck and shoulders. Okay, and you can stay with this, or you can start to roll your head across, bringing the ear to the opposite shoulder, with the head rolling from side to side. And then when you're ready, let the head just hang for a moment, stretching out the back of the neck. Keeping the shoulders relaxed. When you're ready, inhale, bring your head back up. Okay, good. So what we're going to do, you can change the crossing of your legs. So we're going to sit up with a nice elongated spine, and you're going to place the thumbs into your ear holes. You don't have to jam them in, just lightly touch your thumbs into your ear holes. So between your ear holes is the last cervical vertebra. Okay, and then just above this point is the pineal gland, also known as your third eye. And now what you're going to do is you're going to take your middle fingers, the longest fingers, and you're going to bring them up, directly up with the ears, and you're going to touch the fingers together with wherever it lands at the top of your head. So in line with your ears. And this is exactly what we refer to as the crown of the head. Okay, and you can remove your thumbs from your ears and just press your fingers into the crown of your head for a couple breaths. So it's at this place where we need to actually exert a postural muscular effort, and we can lift the skull up off of that first vertebra. So you think of the skull as like a socket and the vertebra as like a ball. So we have like a ball and socket joint in our head that allows our head to do all kinds of different motions. Okay, you can let your arms release down. And you have a sense that even though the weight of gravity, which is about 16 pounds per square inch, is pressing down on top of you every day, all day, there's a certain postural muscular effort that is required to push that socket joint of your skull up off the spine to create that little space. And now you can just turn your chin towards one shoulder. And this is what we refer to as parshva, or side dristi. And then when you're ready, go to the other side. So we understand that the range of motion of the neck is only possible when there's space between the ball and socket joint. And then you're going to come back to a neutral position, and we're going to bring the chin forward and back. Forward. So this is the atlas joint that slides forward and back. When we turn, it's the axis joint. So the next time you go forward, you're going to keep your chin forward, and you're going to place your fingers on the vertebra at the back of your neck, and you're going to feel that those muscles, those postural muscles along the neck, they're engaging and they're pushing the vertebra forward. You're going to keep that engagement, and you're going to bring your chin parallel to the manubrium, which is the top of your sternum. So the neck muscles are toning and engaging. They're getting stronger here. And this is called Jalandhara Bandha. And then when you're ready, you're going to bring yourself back just into a neutral position. Let your arms relax. So we have many different ways that we can exercise the neck muscles and get them ready for poses like headstand and shoulder stand. And even for those little dristis like Parshva Dristi, Urdhva Dristi, Nabhi Chakra Dristi. Okay, so now we're going to come off the prop, block, whatever you're using. Extend your legs forward. Give yourself a little release. Okay, and now you can use a table or you can use some blocks, but we're going to use blocks, and you're going to set the blocks or the table up at the front of the mat, and we're going to come to the hands and knees position. We're going to start with a little shoulder stretch. So you'll place your elbows on the table or the blocks, whatever it is that you have. You'll place your hands in a prayer position, and you can point your hands up towards the ceiling. Yeah, there you go. And we want to try to connect, especially the inner elbow bone to the block, okay? And you're slightly karate chopping down into the block with your inner elbow. And now you're going to start to, little by little, inch your knees back away from the table or blocks, whatever it is you're using, and see if you can actually extend the line of the shoulder with the hips and the ribs until you have reached 180 degrees angle. So not everybody will get there, especially if you're practicing here in the morning. But that slight downward chop of the elbows into the surface that you're pressing into will help to create a buoyancy in the undercarriage of your upper arm bones. This is going to help to create a feeling of putting the shoulder blades onto your upper back. And whenever we're doing headstand and shoulder stand, it's always this upper part of the back here that is concerning for us, because we want it to be able to be both engaged and supple simultaneously, so the shoulders won't block the movement of the spine. Last 2 breaths here. Now you're going to press the elbows down to lift up. And when you're ready, you're going to come off those blocks and just to a hands and knees position. So we'll do a few rounds of cat and cow. You can turn your hands in any direction. Okay, so there's many different variations. You could turn the hands out. You could turn the fingertips even back if you wanted to. You could be on fists if you needed to. Okay, and you can move the knees back a little bit, Chris. And then if you can, press the tibia, the lower leg bone where it meets the ankle down. So we also will encounter a little stretch for the ankles. Okay, and now we're going to start with a rounded position. So an exhale is going to round the lower back. And then as you inhale, lift that vertebra between your ears and come all the way up. So we're using the spine to do this movement. As you exhale, now you're using your abdominals. And then we come out of it using the postural spinal muscles. And taking at your own pace a few more rounds. Noticing which part of the spine for you is a little bit more difficult to get connected to. Perhaps for you, rounding in the lower back is harder than in the upper back. Drop this a little, yeah, round more. There you go. One more round on your own. And then when you're finished, you're going to take a few breaths in child's pose. So you can release whatever variation you took in your wrists. Point your toes. You can separate the knees a little bit. They just need to be able to support the chest and the rib cage. Take a very relaxing position with your arms. If you need something under the forehead, don't hesitate. Place a towel under your forehead. And just let your body settle, grounding into the mat underneath you. Grounding the tops of your ankles, feet. Let the weight of your hips pull you back and down towards the heels. And now bring your awareness to the breathing. So internally there is a wave effect in the breath. So as you inhale, a feeling of the lower abdomen lifting and moving forward, bringing the belly, sternum, chest slightly forward, and then the release as you finish the exhalation. So this entire process is about an internal lengthening. One more breath. Okay, and now we're going to take the hands right by your knees. So the fingertips are going to line up with your kneecaps. There you go. Your elbows are going to be doing very similar to chaturanga, a parallel position. And as you press the knuckles of your fingers down, I want you to stretch your fingers forward and the palms of the hands pull back. So your elbows are going to start to draw back as the shoulders slide away from your ears. Very good. Now, you're going to bring your forehead right in line with your knees. So you're going to lift your head up and you're going to actually place the crown of your head on the ground and your forehead touching your knees. So you can bring your knees a little closer together now, Chris. Yeah, and that's it. Good. And see if you can actually get your forehead. Yes, that's harder, isn't it? Okay. And now you can start to lift your hips up a little bit and place the crown of your head down on the ground. Yes, very good. So what we're doing is we're just very gently testing what it would be like if we were to move into those deep postural muscles and to feel the head grounding, but the spine lifting out of that ball and socket joint where it comes together. And all the vertebrae, starting with the one between your ears, moving in the direction of the hips as the head presses down into the ground. Last 3. The 2 inner shoulder blades nicely lift away from the back of the neck. Last breath in. And now let your hips gently come back onto your heels. Stretch your arms straight in front now for an active child's pose. Good. Lift your hips a little, enough so you can curl your toes. Okay, press with the strength of your shoulders and your arms, the hips back, and you're going to begin to come into Adho Mukha, downward facing. Okay, feel free to bend the knees. You can take a slow approach, straighten one leg and then the other, and just see how it goes here. And when you're ready, you're going to look up and you're going to march your feet forward to the top of the mat, separating your feet a little larger than the hips. Now you're going to take your hands and cross the fingers behind your neck in the crocodile breathing position. Bend the knees as much as you need to in order to bring the abdominals flush to the upper quadriceps. You can let your elbows gently draw towards the sides of your head, as if you could feel the inner elbow bones stretching down for the yoga mat. And as a reaction, the inner shoulders can lift and to bring that little bit of space into that inner shoulder where it meets the neck. And last 3 breaths here. So truly, gently, not with force, just tractioning and pulling the neck vertebra away from the shoulders. Last inhale. And now let your arms drop. So in a rag doll, we're going to slowly roll up, and you're going to start not here. You're going to start by rounding here first. There you go. And you're going to come up 1 vertebra. So this is harder. Not here. Here. There you go. Try to keep it. Yeah, there you go. Go slowly. And it is going to be a process over time of getting, you know, that information of which part of your back moves more easily than others. And we're all different, but yet we all have the same struggle in a different way. Now you can slide your feet closer together, or you can keep them a little larger than your hips. I leave that up to you. Good. So take a few moments, open up your toes on the yoga mat. This is really one of the most important things. Like, imagine what is mountain energy? Mountain energy is broad at its base, broad and stable. And that broad stability helps the peak of the mountain. The broader the base, the taller the peak. And the peak is that crown of your head. So where you're pushing the head, the skull up, the ears up, off of your spine. And as a reaction to that, the shoulders will be able to relax more, the more active the postural muscles become, the less you need to use your extremities. Now you're going to rotate the arms in as much external rotation as you can, and feel the 2 shoulder blades move away from the spine, and they assist the arms as they go all the way up, as big as you can in this stretch. Open your arms even wider, and as you exhale, fold into Uttanasana. Bend your knees if it's necessary. As you inhale, reach the crown of your head forward, and keep, as if I glued the top of your head to the front wall, extend that, and now step 1 leg back. Okay, bring your hands flat, glue the top of your head forward, keep that extension, and then step the other leg back. So now we've glued your heels to one side of the room, the crown of your head to the other. And in the middle, I just want this tremendous spaciousness and length. Last 3. Little more height here. Yeah, there you go. 2, the 2 shoulder blades away from your ears. Push the floor away, lift your shoulders, inner arms up, and downward facing dog. So with the forearms lifted, the hands pressing, stretch it back. Again, you're going to come forward into plank position. Okay, and this time I'm going to ask you to come up onto one set of fingertips. So at home you decide. Okay, see if you can maintain the length through the crown of the head forward, back through your heels, and then consider taking your right arm in an external rotation forward by your ear, just like when you're doing a nice handstand. That outer shoulder blade is assisting in pushing the arm away from your hip. Last breath in. Come back to your hands. And then when you're ready, change it up. Be on your opposite fingertips. If it's too much, put the knees down. And then see if you can use the outer shoulder blade to assist the arm moving forward away from your pelvis. Last 2. 1. Bring your hand down. Now try to lift both arms up. No, I'm just kidding. And downward facing dog. Good job. That would require a lot of postural strength. Inhale, shift forward, come into plank. You're going to lower all the way past chaturanga onto the yoga mat when you feel ready. Point your toes away from you. So these baby back bends, the back bends on your belly are really what get you ready for these headstand positions. Bring the shoulders away from your ears, okay, and set the shoulders in that place. And then when you're ready, starting with the vertebra between your ears, you're going to begin to lift your head, and you're using each of those muscles that run along the spine vertically to help you to lift your body up. Yeah, try to use the hands the least amount possible. In fact, if you want to try to test it out, lift your hands a little bit off the ground and see if you can maintain that work of the postural muscles. Last 3. Stretching your legs and toes back. 2. Bring your hands onto the mat, lift maybe just a little bit more, and then reach the crown of the head forward as you release your forehead back down. So you're going to curl your toes under and try for either on your knees or with straight legs, plank position. Very good. And downward facing dog, taking it all the way back. So now you're going to lift your right leg up behind you, open up your hips, stack, and then bend the knee. Take a few moments warming up, stretching out your quadricep. Use the force of your 2 hands to move the hips evenly back away from the lumbar. Okay, and now you're going to change legs, lifting the left leg, opening up, stacking your hips, and then bending the knee and stretching it out. Okay, feel that the 2 hands evenly press the 2 hips back. And release your foot down, coming back into plank position as you inhale. Hovering in chaturanga for a breath as you exhale. Lowering all the way down. Prepare for cobra, point your toes, shoulder blades away from the ears, and then start to slowly engage with the postural muscles. See how much you can maintain that, and if you're ready, come all the way into upward facing dog, Urdhva Mukha. Leading with the sacrum, lift up Adho Mukha, downward facing dog. Take a few breaths here. You can separate your feet a little bit larger than the hips, spread out your toes. And see if you can keep that same feeling, the insides of your shoulders slightly lifting and pulling apart as you press the hips back. Last 3. Last 2. Maintain the hips moving way back as you lift your gaze. Bend your knees and either walk or jump your feet forward. Elongate crown of the head forward. And now as you exhale, it's like you're doing a headstand on your toes. You're going to drop your head literally straight down. So Chris, show the difference between taking your forehead to your knees. So we don't want to do that, especially in headstand. Right? And now just let your head release straight down towards your feet. Okay? So we're not necessarily taking the forehead to touch the knees. We're thinking of the top of the head being pulled straight down towards the earth. Last 2 breaths here. So this is a great way to prepare for the inversions. Now see if you can test moving the hips slightly forward from where they are now, opening the arms and keeping your hips there as you come all the way up. Urdhva Hastasana, look up, stretch. Samastitihi Tadasana. Okay, let's take it just through a few Surya Namaskara A. Inhale, external rotation with the shoulders, reach up. Open the arms, exhale, crown of the head straight down. Inhale, elongate, crown of the head forward. Exhale, march your feet back and lower chaturanga. Modify if you need to. Cobra or upward dog, your inhale. Downward facing dog when you exhale. So you can put a little bend in the knees. I think really almost everybody needs to put a little bend in the knees, especially at the beginning of the practice. Feel that the peak of the pose is the sacrum, the very top of your pelvis where it meets the lumbar. And now you're extracting, elongating, and reaching the crown of the head away from that peak. You're creating forward stretch and elongation in your spine. Last 3, good. 2, and allow the hips to continue moving back as you lift your gaze up. Feel how much that engages the back of the neck. Bend your knees, march or jump. Top of the mat, elongate. Exhale the crown of the head straight down. Open the arms and inhale, use the muscles of your spine to lift your back and shoulders. Samastitihi. Again, inhale, arms reach. Open your chest and arms wider as you fold all the breath out. Halfway extending your spine. March back, top of a push-up. Okay. In 2 directions you go as you lower. Heels back, crown of the head forward. Cobra or upward dog when you inhale. Adho Mukha, downward facing as you exhale. Give a lot of attention to what's happening in those muscles that run along the spine. So you're creating engagement and length. Last 2. Feel the top of your pelvis pull back as you lift your gaze up. Bend your knees, march, jump, float to the top. Exhale the crown of the head straight down. Come all the way up as you inhale, use the whole breath. Tadasana, exhale, Samastiti. Last time. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, all the breath out. Inhale, elongate. March or jump back if you're ready, jump to Chaturanga. Cobra or Urdhva Mukha, using the muscles to push the head up. And exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Very good. Just breathe now. Stretch your spine. So if the hamstrings are a little disagreeable, sometimes by bending the knees, then you can get your spine to work a little bit more. So the hamstrings and the lumbar, they do play off each other. Keep moving the hips back. Look forward. Prepare and jump when you're ready on an inhalation. Exhale, release your head down. Come all the way up, big stretch, arms overhead. Samastitihi, Tadasana, as you exhale. Okay, now, you're gonna take your arms out to the side like an airplane and stretch your fingers as wide as you can out from the sides of the ribs. Okay, now think of opening the top part of your inner shoulder blades away from the spine. And now you're gonna use that feeling of the shoulder blades opening to help externally rotate your shoulders and your arms. Very good. And then when you're ready, on an inhale, take your arms all the way up over your head. Okay, now you're going to keep your hands a little bit apart, and you're going to bend your right elbow, and you're going to hold your left tricep with your right hand. Okay, and what I'm going to ask you to do is to karate chop this little outer wrist point. It's called the ulnar wrist point, forward, but your right hand is preventing the arm from actually moving. And as you karate chop the arm forward, let the outer left shoulder blade move around towards the side ribs and then up. So the shoulder blade assists and gives you that little extra bit of lift underneath the shoulder blade. Last 2. Now both arms straight up, inhale, change, bend your left elbow, hold your right tricep. Use the ulnar wrist point, so the ulna is the bone on the outside of your wrist. Karate chop it forward, and as you do that, see if you can move the right shoulder blade around and assist the arm at going up. So we start to feel the tissue of the upper back engage into the body and to lift. See how much height, how much engagement you can get in the upper back. Now reach both arms, all 10 fingers up as high as you can. Inhale, open your arms and fold as you exhale. Crown of the head straight down. Inhale, point the crown of the head forward. March back into a plank position. Okay. Now we're going to do the fingertips thing again. So you choose which hand you want to come up onto the fingertips. Okay, extend the arm. Again, this is that external rotation. The shoulder blade assists at pushing the arm. And then try lifting the opposite foot. If it's too difficult, place the knee down and lift the opposite foot. Last 3. So it's the muscles of your spine reaching your leg and arm away from each other. 2. And we're going to change sides. So bring your foot and hand down. Come onto the opposite set of fingertips. Use the knee on the ground if you need to, or you can keep the leg straight and add the foot when you're ready. So from the tip of your head all the way back to your heels, stretch in opposite directions on the diagonal. Last 2. Come into just normal plank position. Take an inhale, lift your inner shoulders, forearms squeeze tight, downward facing dog, all the way back. Good. With your next inhale, float your right leg up behind you. Exhale, bring your right knee to your chest. So the lift is going to happen more in the sacrum than between the shoulders, and step your foot between your hands. Very good. Okay, when you're ready, come all the way up with your arms. You're balancing here in a crescent pose. That's it. So if you need to, you bend the back knee. That's okay. Okay, start to feel how the pelvis at the very top, where the beginning of the sacrum is releasing down. And then you can start to lift and engage the lumbar muscles, using that to penetrate that thick upper back tissue, helping that upper back to assist the arms and the hands to go a little higher. Last breath in, and release your hands all the way down. Step into a plank position. Lower as you exhale, chaturanga, cobra or upward dog on an inhalation, downward facing exhalation. Okay, left leg lifts, inhale, stretch it back, knee touches chest. So the sacrum will be technically as high as the shoulders as you come forward, and step the foot between your hands. Good. Balancing crescent pose when you're ready. Take your time. Bend the back knee if it's necessary. That way you can achieve a Tadasana pelvis here. From the sacrum, pelvis releasing down, you enable those lumbar muscles to lift and to push the spine up. Feel that even the top of your head is being pushed up off of your pelvis. 2 more breaths. Go up, up, up to the sides of the body. Get more height. Exhale, release your hands. Come into a plank. You choose a vinyasa or down dog on the exhalation. Inhale, sides of the body wide. Exhale, downward facing dog. We're going to take a few breaths in downward dog. So articulating that there is a 2 direction in down dog. The hips are being moved back by the legs and arms, and against that, the spine is engaging and pushing the crown of the head towards your thumbs. Last 2. Look up as you exhale, bend the knees, and 1. March or jump as you inhale. Fold the head straight down as you exhale. Inhale, both arms all the way upwards. Tadasana as you exhale, Samastitihi. So the Tadasana posture is basically a no-handed headstand on the ceiling. So gravity, the weight of air around us is pushing on all sides, but if you imagine the weight of gravity pushing down from above. So it's easy for the discs and the little soft tissues to get squished up. That's why it's necessary for us to activate the Sushumna Nadi, the central spinal cord, or we call them also the postural muscles, and to bring energy up so it feels like your head is always pushing a helmet that weighs 16 pounds up off your vertebra. See how much of that head pushing up you can keep. And you're going to sit into chair pose, reaching your arms as you inhale, Utkatasana. Fold as you exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, come halfway, lift. Exhale, jump or march to Chaturanga, making your vinyasa, or if you need to, direct down dog. Inhale when you're ready. Exhale. You're going to step the right foot forward between your hands. Bring the left heel at an angle, 45 degrees, and you can move it wider than heel to heel if you need to. Okay, now don't let the back knee turn. The back toes and knee are going to stay on the same diagonal. And from the stability of your back leg, you're going to bring your left hip around towards the front right knee. There you go. Feel that top right thigh, the greater trochanter, move back towards your left heel. Good. And now when you're ready, you're going to take your arms out and come all the way up into the vertical position. Virabhadrasana. So even as the back heel presses down, you're going to use those lumbar postural muscles and you're going to push the sides of your body up. Even your arms will start to go higher. Last two. Big breath. Now you're going to straighten your front leg all the way. See if you can give a little more lift to the front of the pelvis. And now relax your arms down and cross your fingers behind your back. Take a moment here and push back with the ulnar wrist point. So you're going to straighten your elbows and you're going to try to push this back. Yeah, there you go. So you're karate chopping your arms back. Take a big breath in with the pelvis in an upright position. Re-bend the front leg on an exhale. And now you're going to fold to the inside of your front thigh, letting the arms come up towards the ceiling and then overhead. And last 3 breaths here. The weight of the hips provides the spine with something to pull away from. Last 2, the crown of the head eventually points straight down. Last breath in. Now release your hands to the earth. Turn onto your back toes. Step plank position as you inhale. And Chaturanga exhalation. Cobra or Urdhva Mukha inhale. Adho Mukha exhale. Step your left foot between your hands. Prepare your right heel for Virabhadrasana. You can separate a little wider than heel to heel if you need to. Stabilize the back knee and foot so the heel and the knee is not going to change, and you're going to bring the right hip around towards the front left knee. Okay? Always think the top of your right thigh, the greater trochanter at the outside of your right thigh, is moving back towards your right heel. And when you're ready, arms sideways, all the way up as you come up with a big breath. Okay, and reach not with just your shoulders. Yes, the shoulders are, of course, lifting here. The outer shoulder blade is pushing up. But also don't discount the strength of those muscles that are between the shoulder blades, pushing in and up so you can go higher. Last big breath, go a little bit taller. And now straighten just the front leg, keeping it really simple. Lower your arms down, change the cross of your fingers. As much as the pelvis can maintain, if it's possible, an upright position, bend the front knee next time you exhale and fold your body inside the left thigh, releasing your head down. So you're pushing those ulnar wrist points, very good. Taking a few moments to let the hips reach back towards your right heel. Crown of the head moves straight down. Last breath in. And release, hands to the yoga mat. Find yourself in a plank position and you decide, down dog direct or chaturanga. Cobra or Urdhva Mukha, inhale. Adho Mukha, exhale. And taking a few breaths here. Again, just using your internal proprioception to feel the hips moving back, the crown of the head forward. Last breath. Continue moving the hips back. Bend your knees, jump or step. Inhale. Exhale, descend. Chair pose, sinking down Utkatasana, and Tadasana, Samastitihi, as you exhale. Okay, separate your feet apart a little bit. Bring your hands to your hips. Inhale as you lift your spine tall. You can keep the shoulders down when the hands are on the hips. And then as you exhale, fold. Reach down for your big toes, traditional counter posture, Parangushtasana. Okay, inhale, the crown of the head reaches forward. And as you exhale, point the crown of the head as if you could feel it touching the toes. So for example, if you had a little subfloor that somebody built you with some yoga blocks, you could put the crown of your head onto those blocks. And you could use that to feel the inner shoulders lifting away from the direction of the crown of the head. Yeah, you feel the difference in that? Very nice. So it lengthens out the sides of your neck. Last 3. Very good. 2. You can bend the knees a little bit if you need to. Lift the crown of your head halfway, Ardha. And now Padahastasana, sliding the hands all the way underneath. Again, find a little more length. And when you're ready on an exhalation, fold and release. So we have to use our imagination to feel that imaginary subfloor that the crown of the head could push into, and the reaction of the inner shoulders that could jump away from that. So we have the porteur, which is the crown of the head, and the agile, which is the spine, which moves away from the crown of the head. Last 2. Come halfway up, inhale. Touch your hands on your pelvis as you exhale. And when you're ready, come all the way up, vertical position. You can release your arms and you can set up your feet for Tadasana again. Inhale, chair pose, Utkatasana. Exhale, descend on Uttanasana, forward bend. Crown of the head forward, inhale. Transition, march or jump back, Chaturanga on the exhalation. Urdhva Mukha or Cobra, inhale. Exhale, Adho Mukha. Very good. Take a couple breaths here. Okay, when you're ready, you're going to step your right foot forward between your hands. Bring your back knee down. Now, some of you might need padding under your back knee. Okay, and point your toes. Okay, come up with your arms when you're ready. Okay, and you're going to interlace everything but the pointer finger and the thumb. Yeah, taking this mudra. And it's going to feel easier with your hands interlaced to activate the tricep muscles. So this is not to actually activate the tricep muscles, because this is what makes it easy to activate the triceps. What I want you to try to do is to not lose the activation of the triceps, but to try to open up those inner shoulder blades to pull the tops of your inner shoulders apart. Now see if you can move the shoulders again up higher, and now start to bend your elbows and bring the thumbs behind the base of your neck. Even a little bit more back with your elbows if you can. There you go. And now, as much as you can, again, keeping the elbows so the triceps feel like they're turning towards the tip of the nose and elbows reaching up, but at the same time, your inner shoulders pulling apart. Last 2. And now you can start to engage the upper back, moving the head against the arms. You can move the head back a little more. Last breath in. Arms straight up, big inhale, reach for the ceiling, inner shoulders wide. Exhale, both hands down. Okay, now you can move your left hand a little more to the left if you need to, or you can use a block. And now with your right arm, you're gonna reach back and you're gonna hold your left foot. Yeah, so there is probably some sticky feelings in the upper back that you encounter when you twist. These are exactly the energies we want to try to break up before we do poses like headstand. We want to try to create a fluidity of energy. Last 3, 2, take a very big inhale. As you exhale, release your hands down. You're going to step into a plank position. Chaturanga or directly into down dog. Cobra or Urdhva Mukha. Exhale, Adho Mukha. Good. And then when you're ready, you're going to step your left foot in between your hands. You can pad the right knee. Of course, you don't have to, but I think it makes it a little easier for this. When you're ready, inhale, come up with your arms. And if you can remember, you're going to cross the unusual way. The pointer and thumbs are still pointing up. And you can try to feel the difference between really squeezing the shoulders in, and it's not going to feel so good, although it might feel very familiar. And also keeping the triceps, the outer shoulders firm, but then pressing the inner shoulders, shoulder blades apart from that. Okay? And then go up a little higher and bring the elbows into a bent position. When you're ready, bring the thumbs all the way down to the C7 if it's possible. So the outer arms, the outer triceps are turning towards your face, towards the tip of your nose, and you're reaching the inner elbow up. Yet you're also pressing the inner shoulders apart and starting to coil and lift into the upper back. So this brings the ears back and starts to move the head into the arms cradle. Last two. Lift the arms to straight. Get another big breath. Up, up, up. Very good. Exhale, hands down. So move the right hand a little more to the right if you need to, or you can use a block. Take your left arm back, hold the top of your foot. Yeah. So as much as is possible, you're going to bring this bottom shoulder blade down, and you're going to try to instigate movement from the spine. And it is one thing to move the shoulders, and it's something different to move the spine. Last three. Two. And when you exhale, let it go. Show up in a plank position when you're ready. Either you go down dog or vinyasa on the exhalation. Inhale, pointing your toes, pressing your feet, and exhale. So now we're going to do child's pose. And the reason why we're going to do child's pose is because it is the counter pose for headstand. So lower down onto your knees. Let your arms come back by your heels. This pose has such a potential to ground us, to organize our mental energy. So let the shape of the body help you to go inside to that internal focus and awareness. Imagine that you could really touch and breathe into each vertebra individually. You could have a strong connection to each of your individual joints. Okay, now you're going to come up and sit on your heels, and you're going to tuck your toes under. So for those of you at home, we're not going to be here for a super long time. The sacrum is going to release down, and yet you're working on lifting, so notice how when you engage your spinal muscles, sometimes the pelvis will change its shape. So we want to ground the sitting bones onto the heels, and at the same time, lift those postural muscles up. Okay, now extend your arms forward in front of your chest, and you're going to do external rotation as high up in the shoulders as you can feel. Okay, and now use your shoulder blades to press your arms away from your spine. Yes. And at the same time, notice how that will round the upper back. Can you still lift your spine? So it's both the shoulder blades widening and the spine lifting at the same time. Okay, now bend your elbows, bringing your hands parallel, just parallel, there you go. And you're gonna slowly, without the pelvis lifting off your heels, you're gonna set your elbows down on either side of your knees, just in line with your knees, not so far back, but yeah, just in line with the knees, okay. Good. Now, you're going to take your hands and you're going to turn them towards each other, and you're going to interlace your fingers, and the bottom pinky is going to tuck in. Okay, so you're not leaving the pinky out, you're going to tuck it in. And that's going to give you a more flush surface to the ulnar wrist point, the karate chop, the outer wrist. It's a direct line of energy, a direct spark of engagement from the shoulder blade, through the tricep, through the inner elbow, to the outer wrist. And you're going to karate chop your wrist down. You're going to keep your hands like this, And you're going to karate chop that wrist down so there's no light or space under the wrist. And you're going to karate chop that down and slowly begin to push back with your knees and hips into dolphin pose. You can bend the knees a little bit. Okay. The head is pointing straight down, although it's not touching the actual yoga mat just yet. And if I was with you at home, I would bring my fingers underneath your outer wrist to make sure that there's no space, there's no forgiveness there in the outer wrist. You're karate chopping the outside of your wrist down as much as you can. Bring your awareness now to your inner elbow bones and karate chop your inner elbows down as much as you can. So you're not rolling into the outsides of your elbows. Use these 2 points, inner elbow, ulnar wrist point going down, and see if you can lift your inner shoulders up. Okay, the more the inner shoulders lift up, the more your hips are going to be able to go back away from your shoulders. Last 2, one more. And now release again to child's pose. So this is the counter posture for the inversion. You can let your shoulders just relax. And take a few moments. Okay, we're going to do it one more time. So come up sitting on your heels with your toes tucked under. Okay, ground your sitting bones onto your heels. So that's one anchor you want to maintain. Lift the spine without lifting the shoulders. And then when you're ready, extend the arms parallel. Your 2 shoulder blades are moving the arms forward, yet at the same time, your spine is engaged. Okay, now turn your palms external rotation. Bend your elbows into a 90-degree angle, and without letting your hips come off your heels, place your elbows in line with your kneecaps. And then you're going to try, if you can remember, to cross the opposite fingers on top so that the opposite little pinky that's on the bottom left over will fold under. Okay. Press your outer wrists, so this outer part of the wrist point. Like why karate men can go all the way through cement is because it's one of the strongest areas of your body to press into. See how much you can press the floor away as you start to lift your knees. And keep your feet that close if you can, and just bend your knees. Yeah, that's it, good. Crown of the head pointing straight down. Inner shoulders lift up. There you go. Inner shoulders slightly pressing away from the spine, and your inner elbows down, and karate chop with your wrists as much as you can for 3. Shoulder blades up, crown of the head reaching for the ground, even though it won't reach today. 2, the hips go up, up, up a little higher, and again, counter pose, child's pose. Very nice. So find a way to breathe without hyperventilating, without tension being created. And we're going to come to downward facing dog. When you're ready, stretch your arms and shoulders, tuck your toes, and elevate your knees and hips. Just breathing into your body. Observe the difference between hands and wrist and elbows. It's basically the same shape in the torso and legs, but just a big variation in the shoulders. Last 2. Look up, bend your knees. You can either march or jump. Top of the mat as you inhale. Crown of the head straight down as you exhale. Chair pose, sitting into your hips, arms up. And Tadasana as you exhale, Samastitihi. Okay, now you're going to open up your feet 70 centimeters, pointing your toes to the right edge of the mat. If you don't have a block at home, you can use anything. You could use a little stool, or you could use a chair, whatever it is, but you're going to place something a little bit in front of you, and this is going to be for the top of your head to press into. Okay, now bring your hands out parallel, so the arms are like an airplane. Open up between your inner shoulders. Okay. Engage the postural muscles so the ears don't go forward, but they stay in line with the shoulders. And now bring your hands to your hips. Elbows are parallel, just like in chaturanga. And you're going to actually hold, yeah, and you kind of squeeze your waist. Yeah, there you go. Take a big inhale, see if you can keep a little space there. And then as you exhale, you're going to reach down, and you're going to try to place the crown of your head onto that block. There you go. Just adjust it if necessary. Okay, and then place the hands on the ground. And you're gonna just create exactly the same shape as you do in chaturanga. So you're gonna bring your hands just in line with your elbows and wrists. By pressing the hands down and keeping the wrists steady, so there's no wobbling at all in the wrist, you're gonna reach your head down and lift your inner shoulders up. Now, Chris is doing a really good job here, so I'm gonna actually challenge him by lowering the block down a level. Letting the hips shift slightly towards the front plane. And of course, now you have two extra feet. Your hands can represent 2 feet. Your arms can be like 2 legs here. And as much as you can lift the inner shoulders, press the head down so the spine can jump up. The spine moves the hips against the legs, pushing forward. Last 3. Without letting the elbows wobble at all, lift the inner shoulders a little higher. 2. Now see if you need to bend the knees a little bit and inhale, put the weight in your hands and feet, look up. Exhale, hands to your hips, elbows parallel. And as you inhale, come all the way up. Very good. And then you can jump or step your feet back to the front of the mat, Samastitihi. Okay, Tadasana. Inhale, open the arms, reach all the way up, Urdhva Hasta. Exhale, open your arms, all the breath out as you fold your body down. Inhale, look up. March your feet into a plank position. Take a breath in. Slow and controlled chaturanga or to the belly, your choice. Cobra or Urdhva Mukha, inhale. Exhale, Adho Mukha. Okay, come down onto your knees with your toes in that same annoying tucked position. Yes, and sit on your heels. Okay, so I think almost all of us need like a little something under the head when we do tripod headstand, Mukta Hasta Shirshasana. So I just have a yoga blanket here. You could also, I've seen people fold their mat up a couple times as well. The blanket I feel like is just a little bit nicer. So you will put a blanket or something, the folded mat, just in front of your knees. And you're gonna put your knees along the edge of the blanket. Okay. So I'm gonna move the blanket just a little bit. Yeah, right there. Okay. So ideally, the head goes just in front of your knees on the blanket. So you have a nice soft spot, especially if you have a pointy head. This can be really painful. So use a blanket and thicken it up if you need to. Okay, now we're gonna do the same thing that we did before. Arms are gonna stretch forward. The shoulder blades have to push away from the spine, but where we get into trouble with that is that it tends to round the upper back. So I want both. I want the shoulder blades away from the spine, and I want the spinal muscles to be very engaged. Very good, Chris. Okay, now externally rotate from your shoulders. Okay, bend your elbows. Okay, and now you're gonna bring your elbows back by your hips, and you're gonna very gently slide your hands so your fingertips touch the edge of the blanket. And then you're gonna bring the crown of your head down onto the blanket with your elbows parallel. Very good. That's it. Okay, now, when you're ready, you're gonna begin to press into your toes and hands, lift your knees. See if you can do that while keeping your inner shoulders lifted. And it's the feeling, you imagine the elbows reaching back past your heels. Yeah, past your toes, but without rounding. Yes, okay, now if you're at home and you have enough going on here, stay. Especially if you have any feeling that your shoulders are sinking down by your neck, stay here. Otherwise, you're gonna try to bring your right knee to touch your right elbow. Rest it there if you can. Heel towards your right bottom. Maybe you can add, as the inner shoulders lift, the left knee to your left elbow. Keep the elbows reaching away from you so that you can maintain both wide shoulder blades and lifted spine. Bring the heels as close to your little tushy as you can. Squeeze yourself into a little ball and breathe. Now imagine you can stay here or bring your knees to hover between your arms. Hover, use your abdominals, squeeze your legs together. 3, 2, child's pose, counter posture. Very slowly, relax, toes pointed, shoulders in a position that is more reasonable. Let your forehead just rest on the blanket or the mat. Breathe. So inversions create reactive behavior within us. They make us anxious and hot. They're adrenaline. Child's pose is dopamine, so it cools and relaxes. It makes us more reflective in the mind, which is why it is crucial that you don't do a bunch of inversions without counter posturing, because you will literally go crazy. Your brain will have problems. Okay, we're gonna try it again. Are you game for that, Chris? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're gonna sit on your heels one more time. You don't have to take it any further if you don't feel comfortable at home. Please, please, please respect your body. Yoga is a therapeutic practice. Okay, when you're ready, arms are gonna reach parallel towards the front of the mat. Yes, very good. Articulating that postural strength. Externally rotate the shoulders from deep in the shoulder sockets. Bend your elbows, and keeping your elbows like this, you're gonna start to slide your elbows down and place your fingertips so they line up with that edge of the mat, of the blanket. Okay, and then you're gonna bring the crown of your head, like what we discovered at the very beginning of the practice. So the ears are pointing straight down at the floor. Your inner shoulders are lifting. The elbows are not wobbling from side to side, and you're gonna lift your knees when you feel ready. So we never jump into a headstand. This is a very, very, very important to do with control, lifting your inner shoulders up. Now, you're gonna bring just your right knee to your chest or to your elbow. To the chest is harder. Then you're gonna bring your left leg either knee to elbow or hover. Heels as close to your little tushy as you can, elbows in. Inner shoulders up, head down. And then if you can, you're gonna lift your knees above your hips, keeping your knees bent, but stacking your knees up into the vertical position. So go ahead and start to lift your knees up above your hips, all the way. Keep your heels close, but lift here. And you're gonna try to bring your knees into a vertical position. So keep going back with your knees, back with your knees, up with your shoulders, back with your knees, ooh, back with your knees, back with your knees. Until they're above your hips, back with your knees. Good, and then bring your knees down, very much always with control. If you can stay up a couple more breaths, you stay up a couple more breaths, and then always come down and rest in child's pose. So this is I don't think a negotiable thing. You have to always counterbalance. Take a big breath in through your nose, open your mouth, anxious energy out. Good, and then when you're ready, you're gonna come up. Okay, so we are gonna do, again, like what we did before, an Uttanasana. So with the toes tucked under, you're gonna come up and you're gonna take your hands into the crocodile breathing position behind your neck. So this is also counterposing the neck. Bend the knees if you need to, guys. One of my favorite teachers in Paris, Gerard Arnault, actually was the one who gifted me with this. And now you're gonna try to stay in this position, and you're gonna try to come into Malasana, bringing your hips towards your heels. Yeah, just come down as far as you can. That's it. With your head coming down, your elbows coming down, same thing, yeah. I love this counter posture after the headstands. And then when you're ready, release your hands down, press your hips up, and you can walk your hands forward or back into down dog when you're ready. Good. And down dog is also by itself a counter posture, right? So for example, if I was to put a block under the forehead, you could rest your forehead on the, yeah, and that would be another way to do great counter posing. So you do feel that your pelvis is lifting in the opposite direction of your reaching head. Last two. And one, look up. Okay, and now when you're ready, We're going to walk the feet midway up the mat. Okay, and today I'm going to give you options. So you could just do a head hanging down variation of a handstand, or if you need to at home, you could always use basically the wall instead of having somebody spot you. So hands evenly placed, shoulders distance apart. Okay, and this time you're going to let your head actually rest straight down. So this allows you to pull apart the inner shoulders much more. So when we drop the head, we create space more easily. That's why lifting the head is more advanced. Okay, and now you're just going to lift one leg, and I don't care which leg it is that you lift, but you're not going to use the head lifting up. You're going to just push the inner shoulders apart, bend your standing leg, and give it a couple hops. And be aware that when you look towards the center of the room, the balance is more difficult. So it's not about balancing. It's just about pushing with your inner shoulders hands and feeling that you have that little space where the head goes down and the inner shoulders are opening and creating space around the spine. Do one more, pushing evenly with two hands. Okay, and then you're going to switch legs. So even if you're at home and just bouncing around, this is not about an actual vertical position. This is about letting the head neck traction down and getting that space around the inner shoulder blades. Good job, that's it. Keeping the elbow straight so there's no wobbling. Much better. Two more like that. No wobbling in the elbow. Push. Good. One more like that. So push, push, push the floor away. Let your neck relax. Good. And then when you're finished, you're going to do walking your feet all the way to your hands. Okay, and you're just going to hold your legs. So bring your hands around the back of your calves, let your neck relax down. So again, we're just continuing to counter posture the pressure that we have on the neck. And now you're going to bend your knees and you're going to sit all the way down into Navasana, boat pose. Feel free to bend the knees at home if you need to. You can also place your hands on the back of your thighs to support if you need to. Yeah, that's it. Last 3, 2, and now you're going to cross your ankles, hug your knees tight into your chest, make a little round ball shape, just like you did in tripod. You don't have to use blocks, but today we will show with blocks, so you can put blocks on either side of your hips, but you don't have to. Place your hands either on the blocks or beside your hips on the floor, elbows in, and you're just going to try to lift your hips up if you can. And then eventually, if you can, bring your knees to your chest so your feet are off the ground. And this is abdominal, so we're counterposing all that postural engagement. Last 3. Knees up, 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 touch your chest. 2, and Navasana. One more time. Good job. So here we are, balancing now on your buttock bones, whereas before we were balancing on your skull bones. Engaging regardless, right, the 4 sides of the torso evenly. Last 3, 2, cross the other ankle. Hug in, so you're making a very small little package with your body. Keeping your elbows just like we worked on in tripod, straight arms, slowly lift your hips, maybe knees all the way touching your chest, and you're breathing here for 3, shoulders away from the ears, 2, and release all the way down. Good job. Okay, lie down on your back. For those of you who are at home, you also did a good job, I'm sure. We're gonna do a little supported bridge pose. So if you don't have a block at home, you can do a regular bridge pose without. Try your best to move the sacrum. So that's where the block is, for those of you who have the block. The sacrum is that area at the top of your back pelvis where it meets the spine, away from your spine. So the sacrum moves towards the back of your knees. And this is a very interesting posture because what happens for us is that vertebra between the ears can then start to slowly push back into the floor. It's not a forceful feeling. It's just feeling the back of your head slightly press into the earth. And what that's going to do is it's going to engage those muscles along the neck and help you to have that natural arched shape in your neck. So it strengthens the muscles in your neck. And how you know you're doing it correctly is your chin is not touching your chest. The chin is going to stay a little bit away from the chest. Yeah, last 3 breaths here. And then you're going to lift your hips up and release away from the block if you were using the block. So now we're going to do an active bridge pose. So when you're ready, you're going to lift the hips and you're going to take the hands this time and cross the fingers behind your back. Good. So you have a nice feeling of the hips, the buttocks moving away from the lower back. The back of your head is not forcefully, but just very gently contacting the mat. You can feel a percolation of energy at the back of your neck. Last 3, 2, and release your hips all the way down. Good. Now you can take your arms and stretch overhead and give your body a little moment to digest. Okay. Now, keeping your arms overhead, again, lift your hips, bridge pose. And you can choose to stay like this or bend your elbows, place your hands right alongside your shoulders. You can turn the hands out. So you're going to feel very familiar when you come to the crown of the head like you did in tripod headstand. Lift the hips to their maximum capability and see if you can pull yourself slowly onto the crown of your head, observing that your elbows, just like in the tripod headstand, are parallel. The shoulder blades are moving away from the spine. And even though the shoulder blades are moving away from the spine, we still have the upper back engaged. Last 2 breaths. If you want to come up all the way you can or stay on the crown of the head. 1 more inhale, hips up, up, up. Very good. And then bring your chin towards the chest. And as you exhale, come all the way down. Okay, you can walk your feet out a little bit. Let your knees rest in towards each other. Take a few breaths. So again, back bends like inversions are adrenalizing. They make us hot and reactive. They make us agitated. So find a way to breathe that lets go of tension, reactivity. Just be observing yourself. Okay. Now we're going to do Sharvangasana, shoulder stand. So if that doesn't work for you today, for whatever reason, you can also take Viparita Karani with your legs up the wall. Okay, for those of you who are joining us for Sharvangasana, you're going to place your hands flat on the ground. Take your legs into the vertical position. And now you're going to use your lower abdominal muscles to lift your hips up and to bring your legs into the vertical position straight away. Hands rest and protect your lower back. The reason why we don't go into Halasana right away is because Halasana is actually much more aggressive of a stretch on the neck than shoulder stand. So if you can start in shoulder stand and have that little feeling of your head slightly pressing into the ground and the vertebra of your upper back lifting, then you're going to be warming up the neck muscles so that then in Halasana, the stretch will actually be received much more elegantly. So you can try to test it out by just lowering one leg down. Keeping the opposite lifted leg going up is going to help you to feel that you don't just relax your neck, but you keep a little of that space between the chin and the sternum. And then take that leg up, and you can change the other leg. The leg that's lifted has to work as if it's doing the work of 2 legs. Good job. And then both legs up just for a breath. Okay, and now you can bring your knees into a bent position and see how that feels on your neck, bringing your knees down, and then eventually taking your toes back. In the tucked or pointed position, both practices are valuable. And yes, you can interlace crossing your fingers, and you can practice again that ulnar wrist point, pressing the wrists away from you and towards the ground. And now bend your knees, Viparita, or excuse me, Karna Pindasana. Karna is the ear, Pinda means to squeeze. There you go. And you can bring your hands as a variation back onto your ankles if you want to. Take a couple breaths here. And then place your arms along the mat, palms down. And yeah, keep your head on the ground to the best of your ability, so the ears slightly press back as your shoulders, lumbar, eventually hips come all the way down. And then you're going to let your legs extend away from you. And the counter posture is Matsyasana, fish pose. So pressing into your elbows, come up, touch or hover the crown of the head. You're opening here the front of your throat, the Kurma Nadi. Lift your head at least a millimeter before you come down. And then when you're ready, hug your knees into your chest. Give yourself a little pause. Breathe. So shoulder stand is the only inversion that's dopamine. That's why we practice it oftentimes last, except for an Ashtanga, because then we have meditation and breathing afterwards. But we generally want to end in dopamine. So meditation is dopamine, Balasana and forward bends are dopamine, shoulder stand. Okay, when you're ready, you're going to roll over to one side and come all the way up and sit. Okay, and you can, actually, why don't you sit up on this and face them? Yeah, there you go. Okay, and we're going to take a couple rounds of Nadi Shodhana. So this is a practice of balancing and clearing the channels of energy, the Ina and the Pingala. Okay, and everybody should use their right hand. Okay, so hold up your right hand, and then you're going to fold the index and middle finger down against the palm of the hand. Now you're going to turn the hand towards your face, and you're going to place the knuckles on your third eye. So the knuckle of your index finger on your third eye. And you're going to reach down with your thumb, and you're going to plug your right nostril, and you're going to exhale out through the left side. You're going to stay and inhale through the left side. Plug your left nostril, open your right, exhale. Stay and inhale. Plug the right, exhale left. Stay, inhale. Change right side, exhale. Stay, inhale. Change, left, exhale. Stay, inhale. This is the last round. Change, exhale, right side. Stay and inhale. And then just release your hand down, keep your eyes closed for a moment, and just observe the effects of that alternate nostril breathing. You're going to open your eyes, and you're just going to walk your hands a little bit forward, so this will help to release the shoulder and the lower back from that pranayama. Quiet in the mind, that's what we're looking for. Quiet in the breath. Introspection. And now when you're ready, inhale, walk your hands closer, come all the way up, and you're just going to change the crisscross of your legs. And then again, walk your hands forward, remove the tension from your lower back and your neck and shoulders. Breathe. Okay. Observe beyond the physical, how are you feeling? Level of connection. This is yoga. Walk your hands towards your legs, and you're just going to sit up for a couple moments. So some of you guys at home, you might have like a really simple, easy lotus practice. Okay, elevate for sure. Find a position with your hands. I like to rest my hands in my lap. Again, using the postural muscles saves a lot of energy. It's an energy saver. So when you do practices, mindful practices, relax the shoulders, relax the tension of the forehead, jaw. Close the eyes if it's possible. The eyes, they take up a lot of our energy. Breathe naturally. If you notice your mind wandering off, just go back to whatever anchor you chose at the beginning of practice, maybe your pelvis or your breathing. When you're ready, let your eyes gently open, release your legs, and you're going to come into Shavasana. Set up whatever you need. So today, after we did the inversions, maybe you need a little pillow for your head. You can also put a little rolled up blanket under the backs of your knees. Any position with your arms, shoulders, so you feel comfortable. And let go. Take a few moments to let all of this practice of mindfulness be received. Start to bring your breath, your awareness back. You can take a little movement with your toes and fingers when you're ready. So if you're using something underneath your legs, you're just going to slowly bend your knees and place your feet on top of whatever it is that you're using, maybe even just the mat. And now you can reach your arms overhead and stretch the spine. And now bring your knees closer to your chest. Use your hands to give yourself a little hug. Taking as much time as you feel you need to roll over to one side and to hang out in the fetal position. Whenever you're ready, you can come up and sit one last time so that you feel grounded and comfortable. Bring your hands to your heart. Take your gaze towards your fingertips. Bringing the head up, opening the eyes.